Good morning. It's Tuesday, August 4th, I think, and it's about 6:30 in the morning. I started it about a little over an hour ago. I've done, much more than an hour ago, I should say, actually. And I've already walked about 3 miles or so. I'm on the trail. It's light enough now for me to record, and I'm just doing another hike to try and keep a condition and burn some calories. Yeah, not feeling like I've been exercising or doing anything. I really need to start probably doing some physical exercise besides hiking and walking. But the walking is good, burns a lot of calories, keeps the legs and the body used to the activity, which is the purpose of it. Got an early start again. Rain passed through. I came out right after it, luckily, and I haven't got wet yet. So there's thunderstorms predicted later in the day, but we'll deal with whatever comes along. And hopefully 7 to 8 hours of hiking, of walking I should say, and probably about 22, 23 miles, something like that. So it's been dark and pretty uneventful so far. And you know, I was thinking about why I do these. Obviously, to do the activity is good, but another reason is also to get your body used to just doing a physical activity for a certain period of time. So, you know, the distance is important. So it's important for me to, you know, make miles, like when I'm hiking. But right now, because I'm not really exerting myself overly, I just want my body to be used to doing a physical activity, like walking or hiking or something, for not only a distance, but a time. You know, your body endurance is important, as well as being able to make the distance. I want to be able to go for several hours. And in this case, you know, I'm hoping to keep my body conditioned to getting up early and putting miles in by walking. You know, even if I go fast or slow, that my body knows that, you know, we're going to be exercising or walking for 7 to 8 hours. You know, and obviously on the trail, that's going to be more like 10 or 12 hours. But without that, you know, foundation of your body being used to doing an activity, you're not able to get up and do this day after day after day. Your body has to have that foundation. So if that makes any sense. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing these longer walks, because, you know, they are time consuming. It basically takes up the whole morning and sometimes the whole day. When you get home, you know, you're kind of tired and you're wiped out. You got to take a nap, or you know, basically you're resting up. You feel it, you know, obviously not as much as I would if I was actually backpacking on a trail. But, you know, if you're not used to doing this and you go out there and you try to do 3 or 4 days of walking on terrain with a loaded pack, most people are going to have problems. They're going to start getting injuries, they start feeling aches, and they're going to have some breakdown of their body, and it's usually not going to work out well for them. So conditioning helps ease that transition from, you know, basically being in an office, driving your car, or maybe, you know, not doing much, to getting out on the trail and being physical. So if your body is used to doing some physicality, that bridges it a little bit easier from sedentary to being extremely active. So there's a steep learning curve in going out there and being physical. It's like starting any exercise program. You know, you're usually sore for several days. But if you've been exercising all along, it's not quite as shocking and as traumatic to you, and you recover faster. And that's really the purpose of these. So the distance is important, but so is the time to me. So either one of those will help me be more successful in choosing to go out hiking in the future. So sun's coming up. You can see that's where it will be in the background when it does decide to come up. Unfortunately, the clouds are in the way, so I don't think I'll get a good sunrise. And if I turn the other way, you can see the sun's now lighting up my face a little bit. But there you see the moon. Unfortunately, it's a little hazy. It's not very clear. Looks better in real life, but there's a lot of humidity in the air from rain and storms, so It's not really coming out clear on here. So that's it for now. I'll check in a little while once the sun's up and I progress a little further. So just passing the 3.5 mile mark, and we've been hiking for an hour and 15 minutes or so. So the bugs are still out, so that's one good thing about the sun coming up, is some of the bugs will disappear. Well, check in again later. Turtle crossing the road here. Wasn't sure what it was. Well, that turtle seems to have been the most diverse wildlife I've seen so far, other than a bunch of birds and insects. Haven't really seen much out here today. So it was interesting and different. I'm about 8.5 miles in to my walk. There's some other wildlife. Just took the opportunity to start flying in front of me. Other than that, just continuing walking along the path here. I got about another 2.5 to 3 miles to go till I reach one end. I'm debating whether to take a break there and then head back home or not. I don't know if I'll get some food or I'll eat what I brought with me. Definitely move around some water probably. The bottle in the front is almost empty. I still have about 2.5 liters on my back, and I still have a bottle on the side. So I have plenty of water. I try to drink out of the bottles more than the bladder. Tastes a little better. The bladder still has a plasticky taste sometimes, whereas the bottles don't. And also, if I can mix my electrolytes and flavoring in the water bottles, when I'm not going to do that, obviously, to the bladder. Well, I arrived at a park. I've walked approximately 11.4 miles in about almost 4 hours now. It's 9:15 in the morning on Tuesday. I believe it's August 4th. Going to take a little break here right now. Wasn't feeling really tired until the end. And then once I knew I was going to reach this turnaround is when I really started feeling it. So I'm a little tired now. I'll probably have a little bite to eat. Definitely get some drink and hydrate, and then I'll debate what I'm going to do next. I'm probably planning on heading back, which would mean, another basically almost 12 miles. We're looking at a 24-mile day then, into 8 or 10 hours. And then once again, this reiterates why I love getting an early start and pounding out those miles. Obviously I know once again I'm not on the trail, but leaving early at 5 or 6 o'clock and starting, here it is, I got almost 11.5 miles in, and, we're looking at, 9:15, 9:30 in the morning, so even if I took a little nap now or a break and made breakfast for an hour, and then I started hiking again, I'm going to end up already with 12 miles probably easily, and I could probably easily do 15 to 18 miles in a day. And it's not because I'm walking fast, it's because I'm walking purposefully, but more importantly, I'm walking over time. And that's the secret sauce, so to say, that makes it possible if you do large distances. When you hear these people say, I walked 20 miles today or 25, and you're like, how are they doing that? Obviously it's conditioning, but it's also, you know, some of them aren't fast walkers. You know, they're not doing, you know, speed. They're doing time. Time is your friend. So it gets you the long distance. So if I can walk, you know, 10 hours. So if I can walk 10 hours, even at 2 miles an hour, you know, that's still 20 miles in a day, as opposed to trying to go all out and do 3 or 4 miles, but really needing to stop and take rests every so often, and really only walking for 6 hours. I mean, so you know, even at, you know, obviously you're getting it done faster. You have more time for the other things, but you know, it's wear and tear on your body, and it's hard. So, and you have to decide what is your pace and what works for you. So, you know, walk at a pace that you're able to continue to walk at for the majority of the day. And that's what it took me a while to learn. And, you know, I always go back to that story of those 2 older ladies on the Foothills Trail. And they just walked for an hour plus, you know, slow, but they just didn't stop. They never took a break. I would walk a little fast and have to stop and catch my breath because I couldn't keep going up the hills. Yet these 2 ladies, who easily were probably in their 70s, just kept moving. And, you know, with that genius country wisdom, you know, when I said to her, you know, you and your partner are incredible, she says, well, I just do what my daddy told me. Told me never pick a pace that you can't keep up all day. You know, it's genius and simple and obvious, but yet we lose that sometimes in making things complicated. This isn't rocket science. We're walking, you know, and to walk, you need to walk. And that's obvious. But if I can walk longer, then I can go farther. I don't have to necessarily go faster. So those things. But, you know, also, if I wanted to stop here for the day and be done, I can do that too. It's what I want to make it. And that's the beauty of going hiking. Everybody's hike is a little different. Everybody experiences it a little different. And everyone chooses to make it different and their own. So one of the other announcements I'd like to make is that I'm going to be recording, obviously, all these walks. I'm going to be posting them. And one of the reasons why I'm doing that is because I want to get to the point that I'm proficient enough with what I'm doing to be able to post a video while I'm hiking a trail. You know, I discussed the fact that I'm going to do the Pinhoti Trail later this year, and I would love to be able to do what I see many other channels do, which is, you know, post a video while they're out on the trail of each day's activities. And in order for me to do that, I have to learn how to use the equipment. So I guess I could just do a hike, record it, and make a video just for myself. But I figure if I'm going to do all that, why not post it up as well? And that's the purpose of what I'm doing. So I'm using my phone to record this. I bought some new equipment. I'm not going to take a camera. I'm going to save some of that weight, and I'll just bring a bigger battery bank so I can recharge my phone. But I'm going to use the camera on the phone and video myself. And there's an editing program on there. And I'm hoping to be able to just make, you know, rudimentary videos like I do of my walks. Excuse me, tired. Didn't get enough sleep last night, and the physical activity, it's hot out here. It was 84 degrees this morning at 6 o'clock when I started hiking. Or a little bit before 6, I should say, like 5 something. It was already 84 degrees. I have no idea what the temperature is now. I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually. And so just the fact that I'm, you know, able to do that and practice so that when I do go out on the Pinhoti Trail, I hope to make a video every day and hopefully get in my tent or camp at night and, you know, edit it and then post it when I have reception, is enough of motivation for me to do that. So I hope you'll bear with me and be understanding, and I appreciate you tuning in to the videos. Thank you so much. Check back in a little bit. I think I'm waiting for a pickup. I decided to cut short at the parking lot I'm really whipped. There were a couple of times out there that I doubted what I was doing out there, and I wish I could have gotten off, but there's no place to go. Out there on the canal, so had to do it. It's like I said, that's when I dig deep and you talk to yourself if you have to, but you make it happen. I'll be back with my stats in a second. So it looks like I did 20 miles in 35 minutes. I'm sorry. Looks like I did 20.35 miles in those 7 hours and 35 minutes. It's like an average of 21 minutes and some change per mile. So I'll have a recap later on. But I'm definitely spent. I started worrying about getting, hydration issues, even though I was drinking and eating. It's just so hot out there. There's no shade, and it really was hot. Fortunately for me, some thunderstorms moved into the area. And it rained on me slightly. I didn't get really wet, which I actually welcomed, but it did block out. But those thunderclouds did block out some of the sun for about a mile or so, which let me cool down a little bit and reinvigorated me to push on. So, and I started playing those games where I'm looking at a bush or a shrub, and I got to make it to there. And then eventually I saw there's a telephone wire or a telephone pole here, probably an electric pole, with a sign on it, and I know that's right by the trailhead. So when I could finally see that, about 2.5 miles away, that was my target, and just pushed on until I get there. Okay, looks like my ride's here. Talk later. Okay, so it's later in the day. It's August 4th, which is a Tuesday. I did my hike. I did a total of 20.76 miles. I hiked for 7 hours and 35 minutes, of which about 50 minutes of that was probably breaks, and I wasn't moving. So I did stop at one end before I turned around, and I didn't really film too much on the way back, because honestly I felt terrible. There were a couple of times that I actually thought, and if I that I just wanted to sit down, and it was definitely hot out there. My device registered temperatures of either from 84 degrees in the morning when I started all the way up to 111 at the midday sun. So if I was really hiking a trail and I was out there, normally you'd stop and be able to get shade somewhere, but there was none, and there's no way for someone to come give me any assistance out there, which is why in the future I'll probably cut my hikes back a little bit, or choose to go different routes where after a couple of miles I'm somewhere where someone can come get me, and I won't be so out there on my own. But it's a good learning experience. If I was out there really on the trail, normally I would have either stopped earlier, or when I felt really bad, I probably would have just stopped and set up camp and taken a break, maybe over the hottest part of the day, and then maybe hike again a couple of hours later when it begins to get a little cooler. Or I would have been done for the day and just stopped. And I noticed it was probably around the 15-mile mark that I started feeling really bad, but definitely 17, 18 miles was the low point. And after that, it was basically me pushing myself and talking to myself and saying, hey, we're going to do this. And, basically playing the mental games. Like I said, picking something out in the distance and say, we're just going to make it there, and then keep moving that point further. Or, really, you don't have a choice out there. You either sit there or you continue to hike. Those are your only two options. There's no one coming to get you to help you out, unless you feel you need medical attention or it's an emergency, which it wasn't. And just because you're physically tired, and my legs actually felt good, my feet felt good, my body just in general, just with the heat and the fatigue, and probably a little bit of hydration issue as well, even though I kept drinking a lot and I was taking electrolytes. It's just so hot out there, your body is feeling it. So that's it. Basically, over the hike, I did an average of 2.7 miles per hour. That's not exactly speedy. It's not slow, but it's not speedy either. The advantage comes from the time that you hike. 8 hours of hiking is what gives you those distances to be able to do 20 miles, or 20.76 miles in this case. So one of the things I did note that I wore some of my older shoes that I've worn. I've gone back to the Ultras. I seem to like them. The toe box and the room is good. I did tape my feet up, and I had no blisters or no issues.
My last hike I went on, it was a little shorter, but I actually was in a rush in the morning. I really don't plan these. I kind of just decide the night before that I'm going to go out and hike in the morning sometimes, and I scramble to get some of the gear. My kit's pretty much together now, but the first couple of times I was like even today I didn't have enough water bottles that I would have liked to have taken for weight. I had enough to drink, and I had a bladder, but I would have taken probably more weight just to get used to it. I'm kind of glad I didn't in the end. But I didn't take my feet up last week when I went out. I think it was the 27th I went on a little hike, and that one was much shorter. And when I came back, I had what I felt was a hot spot that was beginning to become a blister. And that's the first time I haven't taped my feet up in about 2 years, and I felt like I was getting a blister. Today, I walked a lot further than that, and I taped up my feet and no blisters. So I'm a pretty passionate convert to I need to tape my feet up, and I use my KT tape. Matter of fact, I just ordered more off of Amazon, and I'm gonna probably continue to order more and use it every day that I hike because it seems to work for me. And if that's what it takes to get me to hike and not have blisters, then it's a small price to pay. And just have to be consistent and remember to put the tape on in the morning. And even when you're hiking, you don't want to miss out a day. And sometimes, I'll get 2-3 days out of the same tape if I can. Sometimes 2 days, really. 3 is if you don't get wet, usually it'll last. But it has happened, so it's an efficient product for me to use, and it's obviously being effective for me. So thanks again for joining me. Recording this on my phone, and I'm trying to edit it and post it from my phone, so it'll be interesting. First time I'm doing this, there's a learning curve. I made a lot of mistakes. It took me like 2 hours to edit, like 5 minutes worth, but I'm learning, and hopefully I'll get better and better, and that's the whole point of doing these. So thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like the comments, the feedback, thumbs up or a like, and consider subscribing if you like this. Thank you so much for joining me. Till we meet again.